Creepy things happen before the grave.
I'm being hunted by a pack of werewolves. Finale by Cesly1987. I told Sean the truth. I couldn't lie to him anymore. He had saved my life multiple times in only a few hours. I told him about Mikhail's demand and how he would probably kill Sean whether he survived the night or not. I told him about my sister, about how this was all for her. I told him how I took her place in the hunt so she could be indentured off to a safer life with Alexei's son. I told him how Mikhail lusted after my sister, but not a sexual lust, but a bloodlust. And finally, I told him that Mikhail was rigging the game by threatening to kill my sister if I didn't sacrifice myself to him. So now, I sat alone in a newly stolen car with only the sound of the wind blowing through its broken window to accompany the rushing thoughts in my head. I looked in the rearview mirror to see the mess that was me. My mascara was running dark tears down my face. My face had been cut from the shattered glass, and a large chunk of my hair was missing. I was a far contrast from the seductive damsel in distress I had portrayed earlier in the night. I saw the exit ramp to the Wicker construction site coming up ahead. I was so close to freedom, but couldn't go there. I had to instead save my sister and meet with Mikhail under the overpass. I had done everything to save my little sister. It's what my mother made me promise on her deathbed. Maybe I couldn't free her from the clan, but I could make sure she was safe inside the clan. My mother had worked for the Niori clan, the same wolves that chased me now. She was diagnosed with cancer in her early 30s. She could have asked for more money from the clan to afford her treatment, but she refused. She knew if she died, the clan would hold the debts over me and my sister. Well, my mother passed, and the assholes took us anyway. I was 12 and Annika 10, and they began grooming us right away. I hated all of them. I took the turnaround under the overpass and drove into a small parking lot shrouded in shadows from the overhead highway. My headlights illuminated the tall white figure of Mikhail in wolf form, his white fur still painted red with blood. He held out a cell phone in his large clawed hands. I knew it was a threat, showing he could still order his men to kill Annika. I got out of the car with my head down, defeated. I slammed the car door shut harder than it was necessary. "You said you'd make it quick, and Annika would be safe," I said to him with disdain. "At least honor something you say." Mikhail stood still like a statue before I realized he was concentrating on turning back into his human form. He couldn't talk in wolf form, so of course he would want to gloat and monologue before he killed me. Mikhail shrunk half a foot, and his wolf head returned to normal. His white fur gave way to his pale, naked skin. A familiar smirk quickly found its way across his perfect face. He stood proudly in his nudity, like the cold had no effect. White fur wilted off of him in soggy clumps, the moonlight from the streets reflecting off his sculpted body. He stretched his muscles by rotating his shoulders and cracking his neck and jaw. Mikhail bent down to retrieve his silver revolver from the snow by his feet. He dusted it off and checked the cylinder for ammo. Satisfied, he flicked the weapon back shut and motioned for me to step forward. Arrogance and bravado exuded off of him like a thick stench. All of this was for show, to dominate me one more time before my death. "I'll make it quick like I promised," he chatted cordially, spinning the gun around in his fingers. "I'll have to shoot you at an angle, I think," he said, outstretching his arm to point the gun at my neck, then twisting his wrist to point the barrel upward slightly. "I'll shoot you up through the neck and into the skull. Of course, I'll have to rip your head off in my wolf form to make it look like a proper kill." He smiled sadistically. "But my sister is safe," I asked meekly, taking a small step towards my killer. He crooked an eyebrow at me. "For now," he said. "Once I've gained some seniority in the clan, I will talk with Nico about making a trade with me for one of my harem girls. Nico may be royalty, but he's weak-willed and easily persuaded. Now come," he snapped. "Kneel before me." I walked up within arm's distance of him, but refused to kneel. He looked about and smiled wider. As you wish, whore. Die on your feet, like you aren't used to being on your knees. Mikhail was thoroughly enjoying himself as he looked around the deserted underpass. Where's your guard dog? You didn't tag along? Mikhail mentioned as he scanned the darkness and inside of the stolen car. You cut him loose, Mikhail finally stated. Aw, is that some actual character development for you? I thought you hated all men. No matter, he's been marked for death anyways. He can't be left alive after being bit on the full moon. We can't have strays running around, can we? I hadn't noticed the moon. I guess it would have to be a full moon on the night of the sacred hunt. I barely noticed the sky during all the violence and commotion. Sean had been bitten and infected on this supernatural night. The clan would not let him survive for long as a newly turned wolf. Mikhail pointed his pistol, and I scrambled to buy more time. I don't hate all men, just chauvinist assholes like you. You want to know why? I teased him with a sarcastic smile. I saw a litany of emotions across his arrogant face. At first it was anger. I thought he would pull the trigger on impulse. The second was hurt and general amazement. How could a woman dislike such a specimen as he? So his face resigned to a smug curiosity, and he stilled his hand. Oh, why, dear whore? He snickered, trying to hide his genuine interest. I was about to emotionally unload on him. I was going to tell him everything I hated about his sadistic face and sadistic clan, and how they had systematically ruined my life. I felt the tears begin to flow as I began to open my mouth. Mikhail, what the hell do you think you are doing? Came a voice in the wolf's native language. We both turned to see an older man jogging up, obviously limping and favoring his chest. It was the wolf that Sean had wounded lightly in the beginning, and the cop had shot multiple times before the wolf threw the cop through the windshield. The wolf was haggard and gray. Obviously he was the oldest of the pack, but his muscles were corded and rippling through his flesh. His face was the only thing human. None of your business, old man. I'm ending the hunt. Just had the gun out in case her Rambo bodyguard decided to show up. Mikhail shouted disrespectfully at his elder. The elder stiffened, not taking the upstart's bullshit. He sniffed the air lightly and looked around, like he didn't feel the animosity coming from Mikhail. What are you doing here anyways? Meet up at the construction site and we'll end the ceremony there, Mikhail demanded. The elder huffed and used his pointed human finger to wipe his eye as he continued in their guttural tongue. I was looking out for you, young pup. This is your night, isn't it? Then I smelled wolf blood. My sensitive hearing hasn't gone yet either, so now I know you are playing your own games to cheat and win, and I'll have to tell Alexei of your blatant disregard for our sacred rules. I saw Mikhail flinch as the elder continued. I meanwhile snuck back to the cover of the open driver's seat of the car. Furthermore, pup, the wounded elder tried to continue through wheezing breaths, but was interrupted with multiple shots from Mikhail's pistol slamming into his exposed face, neck, and injured wolf body. The elder collapsed in the snow like a bloody snow angel, steam and heat rising from his dying body. Don't lecture me, you old bastard, Mikhail yelled at the dead elder. Shit, now I'm out of ammo, said Mikhail in comment on the sight of his emptied pistol. I guess I'll blame it on your boy toy you had shooting at everyone, as he threw his empty gun on the ground. Mikhail looked up at the full moon peeking lowly over the buildings with intense concentration. Finally, he spoke with a jovial voice. If I can make a Mr. Brightside reference, I'll be coming out of this cage doing just fine, right? He smiled his gorgeous smile. The elder was a massive dickless blowhard, and I get to kill you as slow as I always wanted now. I was busy scrambling around inside of my rusted white Buick to really notice all the dumb stuff Mikhail was saying, but I could hear the naked Mikhail begin to slowly trot towards the vehicle. Mikhail was stopped by the hissing laughter coming from the dying elder in his makeshift snow grave. Mikhail stopped and turned to look at his betrayed clansman. Foolish young pup, quietly the elder wheezed in common tongue. I smelt the blood of a wolf. You don't even use your own powerful senses correctly. What are you talking about, you mangy mutt? Die already, will you? Mikhail barked. During Mikhail's tirade, The trunk to the Buick popped open, and a lithe figure slipped out to the passenger side door and aimed an awkwardly bright yellow weapon at him.
"There are two of them, dumbass. You didn't smell the one in the trunk,"
the elder croaked with his dying breath. Mikhail turned to see Sean posted up against the passenger side of the Buick, aiming what looked like a bright yellow shotgun at Mikhail. A beanbag round flew at sonic speed to rocket towards Mikhail's proudest target. The bag pelted him right in his exposed, unprotected genitals. The albino man let out a gasping whimper and collapsed into fetal position. Sean racked loose the spent shell and loaded another non-lethal beanbag around into the yellow shotgun.
"I wish cops had real guns and not this hug-a-thug bullshit,"
Sean yelled in righteous anger as he pointed the barrel down at the whimpering Mikhail's face. Another beanbag rocked Mikhail's face into a bloody mess, sending him spiraling into unconsciousness. Sean's anger wasn't satisfied as he flipped the shotgun over to beat Mikhail's limp body. "That won't work, Sean," I cried. "When they are close to death, they'll heal crazy quick. Beating him will make him stronger." Sean paused mid-pummel, Mikhail already convulsing violently.
"What about the old-timer? Is he dead?"
"Must have been silver bullets in Mikhail's gun. He was always paranoid of the wolves around him, or Mikhail landed a killing shot on the weakened elder wolf," I explained quickly. I got in the car and honked. Sean stared down at Mikhail's mangled face in pure anger, his eyes glinting. I honked again louder to snap him out of his rage.
"Less than lethal bullshit. Why can't cops carry real weapons anymore?"
he growled as he tossed the yellow shotgun into the darkness. He gritted his teeth, and I thought he wouldn't turn to listen to me. "It's almost over, Sean," I pleaded. "Grab his phone and come on. It has all the evidence we need to save us both. He had it rigged against us from the beginning, and the dead wolf has silver bullets on him. Take one of those out if we see Alexei." Sean grumbled and kicked around in the snow before coming to his senses and swiping up Mikhail's flip phone. He then ceremoniously walked over to the dead elder wolf and jammed his hand into the gunshot wound in his neck to retrieve a clump of silver and blood. Mikhail was starting to moan, and his smashed face returning to its perfect countenance again. Sean finally relented and slid into the passenger seat beside me. "The full moon is healing both of you quickly," I gasped. "We need to get to the safe house and end this." As I put the car into reverse, I could already see Mikhail sit up and blink the grogginess out of his eyes. Sean let out a low growl at him. We drove for the next 5 minutes around the Wicker construction site's fence. Hastily spray-painted wooden signs pointed us to the correct entrance. We finally arrived at a set of turnstiles surrounded by a high fence with razor wire stretched across the top. We turned off the car and cautiously made our way to the spinning metal bars. Hopefully it would allow both of us to enter through the revolving bars, but Sean let me go first. We thankfully made it through the turnstiles to enter a large, sparse concrete lot, littered with lamps, construction equipment, and boxy metal buildings. One of the boxy buildings' front door was open with an inviting yellow glow from inside.
"So that's the finish line?"
Sean said, more of a statement.
"It's obviously a trap."
"Yep," I said, as we trucked towards the welcoming light. A massive figure stepped into the doorframe, cutting off the warm light. It was Alexei, in full wolf form, with his two-toned eyes of gold and green and black fur with white around the eyes. He was having to duck in the trailer. He stepped onto the stairs and turned his body to motion with his hands for us to pass into the room. "What the hell is this?" I said suspiciously.
"Nothing,"
Alexei said through his deep wolf voice. Years of experience had taught him to speak while in wolf form.
"You cheated, but you knew you had to defeat Mikhail. It was his test, and he failed."
I walked past Alexei into the office. It was warm and well lit, with bottles of water and sandwiches on the side table. Sean went to follow, and Alexei stepped in his way, poking a sharpened bone claw into his chest.
"Not you, boy. You killed an honored pack member and injured many more. You've taken a bite from me and have already begun to change. The ancient rule declares your death."
I watched Sean take a step back and raise his fists in a pitiful attempt to challenge the gigantic Alexei. Sean began sniffing the air, and a look of horror washed over his face. Sean backed further out into the snow yard, and Alexei followed. Sean's head whipped back and forth, searching the darkness around him. I stepped forward to the door's edge to see what Sean was looking at. There were multiple sets of glowing eyes flanking him out of the darkness. At least 10 sets of eyes in total, towering over him and drawing closer and closer in a tightening circle. At this point, the 10 lumbering wolves entered the light, spilling out of the doorway, towering above him, standing upright. Many I had seen before, many I hadn't. Sean sighed a deep sigh of defeat and dropped his guard. His shoulders slumped.
"Stand the mutt up for me to see him,"
Alexei barked out into the crowd. Alexei made a quick motion with his head, and 2 unknown wolves shot out to grab Sean by either shoulder. Sean pulled back with a growl, and his eyes flashed gold for a moment, but quickly he realized he was not getting away. The 2 wolves held Sean tightly as Alexei walked down the short steps towards him, to lift up his chin in his clawed hand, to look down directly into Sean's gold eyes.
"You have 2 options."
The guttural mix of beast and man issued from Alexei's throat.
"You interfered with our sacred hunt and resulted in the deaths of 2 of my clan."
Sean's face was stoic, but the cold was making him shiver.
"Our ancient rules dictate death to the outsider, but I am a reasonable pack master, and I know the trickery and wiles of the female."
He growled at Sean.
"Once more, I have fought you, and you showed no regard for yourself above her. You drew on me and fired in an instant so she could escape. That may be the reason why I went for the shoulder instead of the neck. Honor is a rare trait among humans." "So you spared me?"
Sean said quietly, looking down from the intimidating aura of Alexei.
"Do I join your little werewolf?"
Alexei moved in a flash and snapped Sean by his throat, lifting him up 2 feet to be face level with Alexei.
"Like you and your girl found out. Mikhail was an honorless cheater and coward. I may have suspected, but I guess the female knew from the beginning, so she felt the need to cheat herself."
Alexei looked back at me with contempt. Alexei sat back down the blue-faced Sean and continued.
"You kill Mikhail and join as a new pup in the clan, or you refuse and you die right here."
After coughing a bit, Sean straightened, to look Alexei square in the eyes now.
"So I'm meant to hunt an experienced wolf who can transform? Last I saw him, he was healing from a broken face under an underpass."
There was a series of barks behind Sean, causing him to turn, and I saw the last thing I expected to see. 2 fully morphed wolves were dragging a naked Mikhail in human form. They pushed forward towards Sean and Alexei.
"So I heard the deal, pack master. I'm to let this plebe kill me?"
Mikhail said opulently, still not ashamed of his nudity.
"No, Mikhail,"
Alexei growled over Sean's shoulder.
"If you kill this mutt, we will give you 24 hours to leave the country. You will be exiled from the clan. Your network system of human followers you have accumulated are being hunted down as we speak."
Alexei shrugged.
"Maybe another weaker clan will take you eventually, if you can kill this human right now."
3 things happened at once. Mikhail smiled sadistically. Sean took up a fighting stance with a look of horror, and I screamed. "That's not fair! It's a slaughter! A wolf to a lamb?" I was particularly proud of that last allegory, and Alexei turned again to consider me.
"I didn't mention the rules,"
he barked.
"In order to join the Nyari clan, you must have cunning as much as brute force."
He turned to Mikhail and said coldly,
"You fight this man in human form, or I will have you ripped apart by your former clansmen."
The smug look on Mikhail's face faltered, and he looked around at the seriously imposing wolves forming a circle around him, Sean and Alexei. Alexei walked backwards to join the circle.
"Begin,"
he growled. Mikhail was the first to strike, with a 1-2 slash with his arms. The first one caught Sean's right eye and cheek with a bloody scratch, and Sean blocked the other strike by raising his elbow. Mikhail winced at having his soft human hand collide with Sean's hard elbow. Mikhail stepped back while trying to shake the pain out of his injured wrist. Sean touched the bloody scratches on his cheek and smiled. I think he realized what I realized at the same time. Mikhail was a weakling in human form. I would like to say Mikhail put up a valiant effort, but I'm not gonna lie for that shit. Sean got within his reach and beat his naked ass all through the snow with throat punches and elbows and eye gouges. I had seen how efficient Sean was at ending fights, so I knew he was taking his time with Mikhail. Finally, Sean delivered a low kick to the inside of Mikhail's knee, causing him to crumple to his other knee in the snow. Mikhail tried to stand, but Sean performed a devastating downwards elbow like an axe to the top of Mikhail's head. Mikhail staggered and almost toppled over into the snow if Sean didn't swoop in behind him and wrap him up in a chokehold. Sean arced backwards, lifting Mikhail's bare toes out of the snow. Mikhail kicked and wheezed groggily. This was it. Sean was going to strangle Mikhail to death in the next couple of seconds. True to Mikhail's nature, or just survival instincts, Mikhail's body exploded in mass, his rapidly expanding back and neck muscles flinging Sean off of him. The white fur sprouted instantly to cover him, and his already albino eyes glowed red. Wolf Mikhail spun around to face Sean laying on his back in the snow. Mikhail's bone claws grew to around 10 inches in length, and drool ran from his mouth like a frothy waterfall. Mikhail was about to pounce on Sean for the kill before the enormous black mass of Alexei stepped up between them. Mikhail looked at Alexei in surprise, which quickly turned to anger. Mikhail swiped his long right claw at Alexei, only for it to be caught by Alexei's black-furred muscled hand. There was a wicked snap as Alexei broke Mikhail's wrist with just his grasp. Mikhail attempted to let out a howl of pain before Alexei seized the bottom part of Mikhail's jaw and ripped downwards, sickly ripping Mikhail's bottom jaw and most of his throat out in a gory mess. To finish it off, Alexei used both hands to grab Mikhail and snap his neck with a vicious twist. Mikhail finally fell dead to the ground, where Sean was playing with Mikhail earlier. Alexei obviously wasn't done playing. After the shock wore off, and the warm blood pooled around the dead Mikhail, the wolves eagerly helped Sean to his feet. I heard a door open behind me in the office, and was hit with cold air and a scent of cologne. It was Nico's cologne. I turned my head to face him. He was handsome and rugged like his father, but with kind eyes and dimples from constant smiles. He was dressed immaculately in a fitted suit. He stared at me forlorn for a while. I could almost see a tear forming in his eyes. "Don't, Nico," I commanded gently. "Don't show weakness to them." I knew I was never going to survive the night after all the havoc I caused. I only wanted Annika to survive, I said, tears now in my eyes. Nico walked up close behind me now. "She will be fine. She will be safe, Father says. There's only one catch." He trailed off. "You must kill me," I answered him. "The two of us that started all this must end it." I felt him nod in agreement behind me. Outside, the 10 wolves had Sean upright. I had seen the ceremony before. All the wolves would bite a new recruit on a full moon to seal his initiation into the pack. The wolves gathered around Sean and outstretched his arms for a good place to bite him. I could feel Nico's bone claw tickling my neck. Me and Sean looked at each other in terror, but in an instant it disappeared from both of our faces. He and I were determined. "Take care of Annika," I said. "I will," Nico whispered back as he slit my throat with his claw, blood flowing freely over my red scarf. As my vision faded, I saw Sean nod to me. Sean knew I was talking to him, not Nico. Sean wasn't a wolf, he was a protector, and if he found me worthy of protecting, for sure he would find my little sister worthy. Then, all the wolves bit Sean at once, and my vision faded to black as Nico cradled me.